Chapter 771. She was simply irresistible to some perverts. Bridget yelled, "You're not worthy of being friends with Madame Scarlet, get lost." "Hey, are you looking down on me?" Bridget had made the man upset. "Do you know who I am? Do you know who my father is? I'm Daniel Grint, son of Zen Order's guildmaster." The expressions of the people in the restaurant changed after he said that. The Zen Order. Isn't that one of the 8 major sects in Greenstead? I heard they have thousands of disciples, and they have a huge influence. As a leader in the martial arts world, not many dare provoke them. That's weird. What's the Zen Order doing in Belerno? They must be here for the Knighthood Society tournament. It's held in Belerno this time, at Shinefield Lake. That's not far from Millersburg. Many martial artists are visiting for the same reason. As they spoke, they inexplicably distanced themselves. They were afraid of being caught up in the commotion. I've never heard of any Zen Order. Now, get lost before I lose my cool. Bridget responded bluntly. You fucking rude bitch. Daniel was furious and made a move to punch her. Bridget's expression was frosty as she grabbed onto his incoming fist. Then, she twisted it slightly. With a crisp crack, his wrist broke. Ah! Daniel was stunned. Then, he screamed horribly. The pain left him writhing on the floor as his expression crumpled. How dare you harm Mr. Grint? Do you want to die? The group of martial artists behind Daniel erupted in fury. They all attacked Bridget at the same time. Their attacks were laced with strong internal energy. It made them stand out among low-level martial artists. HMPH. With a sneer, Bridget met their incoming attacks head-on. She wasn't scared. Her moves were faster and more powerful. In only a few minutes, the low-level martial artists had been knocked to the ground. To become Scarlet's deputy general, naturally, she had to have skills. Coming from a distinguished family, she was a genius trained from a young age. She wasn't only talented in military affairs, but her combat skills were also well ahead of her peers. She had reached divinity at a young age, so fighting against low-level martial artists was easy. Why you? How dare you harm us? You're dead meat. I'm going to make you pay. Daniel gritted his teeth and prepared to make his escape. At that moment, a table knife shot out with a sharp whistle. It pierced Daniel's knee. Ah! With an anguished shriek, Daniel fell to the floor. He held his knee and moaned in pain. Did you think I'd let you escape that easily? Georgia stood up slowly. She was smiling, but it didn't reach her eyes. Instead, they were filled with a slight murderous intent. On the battlefield, being kind to the enemy was no different than being cruel to themselves. That was why it wasn't in her nature to leave anyone alive. What are you trying to do? Daniel's tone betrayed his fear. He dragged himself backward on the floor. Why don't you guess? Georgia picked up another table knife. She spun it around her fingers. I'm warning you not to try anything. I'm the guildmaster's son. If you dare harm me, Before Daniel could finish his empty threat, Georgia had aimed the table knife at his other knee. Chapter 772. Ah! Daniel let out another terrifying scream. Both of his legs were now broken. His expression twisted in agony. He just wanted a woman to sleep with. He didn't expect to meet a bunch of lunatics instead. They showed zero respect for the Zen Order, daring to harm others without hesitation or warning. Shit. Who are these people? How dare they harm disciples from the Zen Order? She's pretty, but her methods are absolutely ruthless. The onlookers were stunned as they watched Daniel squirm in pain. That's enough. You're disturbing our meal. Just drag him out. Scarlet waved dismissively. Even as Scarlet gestured for Georgia and Bridget to drag Daniel out, she never looked up throughout the entire situation. Insignificant gangsters like them were not worth her time. Madame Scarlet is in a good mood today, so I'll let you go. Reflect on your actions when you get back, Georgia said. She then kicked Daniel's stomach, sending him flying. He landed heavily by the door. Who dares harm my junior? At that moment, A group of disciples from the Zen order walked in fiercely. A tall man dressed in white led the group. He had a sharp gaze and looked intimidating, walking in large strides. Joel, you're finally here. Daniel looked like he saw his savior and sobbed, "Catch them. They hurt me." Huh. Joel's expression darkened when he saw Daniel's bleeding knees. His cold gaze swept toward Georgia and Bridget. "Did you do this?" he asked. Georgia replied calmly, "So what if we did? He's a pervert who harassed Madame Scarlet. We were nice enough to let him leave alive. Bridget, on the other hand, only told him to get lost. How dare you be so brazen after you hurt our men? You need to be taught a lesson." Joel was furious. Without another word, he shot toward Georgia like a ghostly shadow. Huh. Georgia's pupils constricted. She immediately raised her arm in preparation of the attack. Joel's attacks were quick and powerful. Each strike was laced with strong internal energy. After a few rounds, Georgia was pushed back. She was clearly struggling to keep up. "Let me help." Bridget jumped in when she noticed the situation going bad. They fought Joel together. As the deputy generals of the Dark Panther Cavalry, their martial arts skills were exceptional among their peers. However, Joel was evidently stronger. He was able to hold his own even against the both of them. Each of his strikes was more powerful than the last. Bridget and Georgia had a hard time defending themselves. They didn't expect Joel to be a strong fighter. When their fists collided, Bridget and Georgia staggered a few steps back. Their arms were numb as their internal energy surged chaotically. On the other hand, Joel looked proud and energetic as ever. "Good job, Joel. You sure showed them." Daniel grinned devilishly. He momentarily forgot about his pain. Revenge was sweet. HMPH. Joel is ranked on the Heavenly Immortals. How dare you challenge him? You think too highly of yourselves. You women should just stay home and take care of children. Why bother learning martial arts? It's a waste. That's right. Those breasts and hips are perfect for giving birth and feeding. Why don't you come home with me and be my wife? Ha ha ha. The disciples of the Zen order laughed mockingly. They looked at the two women with the perverted gazes. The audacity. Chapter 773. Georgia and Bridget were furious. They were about to launch another attack when Scarlet raised a hand to stop them. "You're no match for him. Let me handle it." Scarlet stood up slowly. She swept a cold gaze across the room. A chill was sent down the laughing crowd's spine, and they turned silent. For some reason, they felt like death was staring them in the eye. "Oh. I didn't expect to see such a gorgeous woman here. I'm lucky." Joel's eyes lit up in delight upon seeing Scarlet. His lips curled up into a sly smile. "It seems like you people look down on women." Scarlet said impassively, "I'll give you a chance. If you can defend against 3 moves of mine, I'll let you go alive." "You'll let us go alive?" The group was momentarily stunned. Then, they howled in laughter. "Hey, girl, I think you haven't realized the situation yet. You're at our mercy, not the other way around. You're pretty but pretty dumb. Hey, beautiful. If I manage to defend against 3 of your moves, marry me, all right?" Joel smiled mockingly. He didn't take her seriously. "All right." Scarlet nodded. With a wave of her arm, a teacup on the table zoomed toward Joel. "That's all." Joel chuckled. He extended his palm toward the glass. With a resounding bang, the teacup exploded. Tea splattered everywhere. However, the moment Joel's palm touched the teacup, he was sent flying 30 feet away. It was as if he'd been hit by a train. He crashed into the wall with a loud thud and coughed out a mouthful of blood. What? The unexpected scene stunned the other disciples. They couldn't believe their powerful senior had been sent flying by a mere teacup. "How is that possible?" Daniel cried out in fear. He was frozen with shock. Joel was his father's most beloved disciple, a senior of the Zen order, and a strong fighter ranked among the Heavenly Immortals. How could one move make him cough blood? It was unbelievable. What trick did you use? Joel asked, panting heavily. He looked shocked. He couldn't accept the fact that a mere teacup defeated him. There had to be something strange going on. 2 more moves. Scarlet remained impassive. Her frosty gaze was terrifying. It was as if she was looking at a corpse. Attack! Joel shouted, sensing that the situation was turning against him. Capture her. After a momentary daze, the disciples from the Zen order attacked all at once. They tried to overwhelm Scarlet with their numbers. Scarlet moved among them like a ghostly red blur, inflicting pain and groans wherever she went. In just a few minutes, the Zen order disciples were left squirming on the floor, moaning in pain. Daniel, who had been hiding behind them, was rendered speechless. He stood there in shock. You men are nothing, Scarlet said as she looked down on him condescendingly. Stop right there. Suddenly, they heard a booming voice behind them. The moment Scarlet turned around, her gaze turned murderous. At some point, Joel had stood beside Dustin. He had 3 fingers wrapped around Dustin's throat, looking ready to kill. Chapter 774. Let him go, or die. Seeing Dustin held hostage made Scarlet see red. The temperature seemed to drop a few degrees. Even the lights started flickering. The Zen order disciples who were on the ground shivered in fear. Scarlet had only intended to teach them a lesson, but she was now filled with murderous intent. Dustin was her boundary, and anyone who dared to cross that line would face her wrath, no matter where they might try to hide in the world. I'm warning you. Don't make any sudden movements, or I'll kill him. Joel threatened. He never expected Scarlet to be so strong. He knew he wasn't a match for her. His only chance was to use the hostage in front of him to turn the situation around. If you release him now, I won't kill you. But if you lay a finger on him, I'll destroy your entire guild. Scarlet threatened coldly. Cut the crap. We're in control now. Joel glared at her. I order you to step back. Scarlet took a deep breath, trying to suppress her anger, before taking a few steps back. More. Joel demanded. Scarlet didn't want to risk it and continue stepping backward, her eyes locked on Joel the entire time. HMPH. I admit that you are strong. But, so what? You still have to follow my orders. Joel smirked, looking triumphant. Joel, you're the best. Daniel and the rest of the disciples were encouraged by the situation. They finally saw hope to turn things around. Everyone had their weaknesses. As long as they exploited those weaknesses, what could their opponents do? Daniel, retreat. I'll hold them back. Joel signaled to Daniel. Hold on. I'll get back up immediately. As soon as he said that, Daniel retreated with the rest of the group, stumbling and staggering on their way out. You. Get up and come with me. Joel grabbed Dustin by his shoulder and hid behind him. He kept a watchful eye on Scarlet in case of an ambush. I'm not done with my meal. Can you wait a while? Dustin said. As he spoke, he took another bite of his food, chewing slowly. Joel's eyes twitched, feeling humiliated by Dustin's actions. How can you still eat? You motherfucker, Joel simmered in anger, and he kicked the table over. Stand up this fucking instant before I kill you. Didn't your mom teach you not to waste food? Dustin's expression grew cold as he looked at the wasted food. Cut the crap. Say one more word, and I'll kill you with a strike of my palm. Joel cried out. Was this guy mentally challenged? How could he be in the mood to eat in this situation? I don't believe you. Go ahead and try, Dustin said calmly. You fucking, Joel gritted his teeth, almost losing his cool. Hey. Are you crazy? Why are you provoking him? Georgia was shocked. If Dustin died, Scarlet would definitely go crazy. Dustin, don't be reckless. Scarlet was anxious as well. Kid, don't worry. This childish brat has nothing on me. Dustin smiled. Childish brat. Joel's anger flared. I'm a high-level martial artist ranked on the Heavenly Immortals. So what? Weren't you defeated by a flying teacup? Dustin said, insulting him. Chapter 775. Why you? How dare you humiliate me? Joel erupted in fury. I might not be stronger than her, but I'm surely stronger than you. He shouted, I'm going to show you the heavenly immortal's terrifying power. Die. Joel aimed his palm at Dustin's back. No. The three women's expressions shifted, but they couldn't stop Joel in time. They could only watch helplessly as the forceful strike hit Dustin's back. A resounding explosion echoed through the room. However, Dustin remained seated, completely unaffected. Instead, Joel was sent flying backward like a rocket. He crashed through the windows and plummeted from the second floor, landing right by Daniel's feet. Joel. The group was shocked to see him fall and quickly helped him to his feet. Didn't he say he was going to hold them off? Why did he end up sprawled at their feet? Are you okay? Daniel asked. Joel spat out a mouthful of blood on Daniel's face, as if mocking him for even asking. He then pointed a trembling finger at the window above, looking horrified. Run. There's a monster up there. He fainted as soon as he said that. A monster. The group looked up at the second floor and met Dustin's demonic gaze. It sent chills down their spine. Run. Daniel didn't hesitate. He ordered Joel to be lifted into the car before stepping on the accelerator. Under Daniel's urging, the car sped away, never slowing down. Half an hour later, the car stopped in front of a Victorian-style mansion. It was enclosed by high walls made of sturdy bricks. The mansion occupied a vast area and had 4 courtyards, giving off an ancient vibe. Dad. Mr. Grint. A group of people carried Joel inside the house in a rush. Their actions were accompanied by loud cries, creating quite a scene. What happened? A strong, middle-aged man who looked weary walked out of the living room. He was none other than Brutus Grint, the guildmaster of the Zen Order. Dan, what happened to you? Brutus frowned, noticing Daniel's injury. Dad, I'm in much better shape than Joel. Look at him. He's dying. Daniel looked concerned. What? Brutus took a closer look, and his expression hardened. Who did this? Who injured my disciple like this? He asked in anger. Brutus stopped pursuing the matter and took out a healing tablet, feeding it to Joel. He then channeled internal energy into him to help with his injuries. After around 30 minutes, Joel coughed and finally opened his eyes. However, the fear in his eyes never subsided. That attack had traumatized him. He couldn't believe that his full-on attack didn't hurt Dustin. Instead, it ended up hurting him badly. Joel's dignity as a martial artist ranked on the heavenly immortals had been trampled on. Joel, who did this to you? Brutus asked darkly. Joel was his most talented student and his future successor. Mr. Grint. Joel looked up at Brutus and started crying. Mr. Grint. Let's go back to Glenstead tonight. I don't want to take part in any Knighthood Society tournament anymore, he said between sobs. Why are you crying like this? You're a grown man. What exactly happened? Brutus asked, frowning. Joel continued sobbing. Mr. Grint. I'm scared. I forfeit. Let's go back. It's scary here. Chapter 776. Meanwhile, back at Full Moon, Joel flying away had everyone looking dumbstruck. Joel was a senior in the Zen Order. He was also a strong fighter on the Heavenly Immortals. Someone like him could split rocks open with just a palm of his hand. Under normal circumstances, Dustin would have been seriously injured or even killed by his attack. However, the situation was reversed instead. What exactly happened? Dustin, are you all right? Scarlet rushed forward after a momentary daze. She took a good look at him. I told you, that childish brat can't hurt me. There was no need to worry. Dustin smiled. You scared me. I thought. Scarlet didn't continue. She seemed afraid of offending him. Georgia stared at him in disbelief. How are you so strong? She was aware of Joel's skills. She and Bridget weren't his match. If Scarlet didn't get involved, they wouldn't have been able to take him down. They were certain that Dustin was as good as dead earlier. They didn't expect such a reversal. Nonsense. Of course, Dustin is amazing. He used to be the genius of Oakvale. Scarlett was proud. 10 years ago, Logan was unbeatable among his peers. Madam Scarlett, you said so yourself. That was 10 years ago. Things have changed since then, Georgia said thoughtfully. Logan was indeed the chosen one back then. However, that was when he had access to the Rhys family's power and resources. After 10 years, the top talents from Oakvale have become influential leaders. They've grown into strong and respected figures. Logan, on the other hand, had disappeared and lost the shelter of the Rhys family. In the eyes of many, Logan had faded into insignificance, turning him into an ordinary citizen. I don't care what other people think of him. In my eyes, Dustin will forever be a genius, Scarlett said seriously. If you really thought that way, you wouldn't have been so anxious earlier, Georgia said quietly. What did you say? Scarlett stared at her coldly. You're so full of energy. I'm giving you extra training tomorrow. What? Georgia froze, mournful about her situation. On the other hand, Bridget stifled a laugh, playfully happy about George's trouble. At that moment, Dustin's phone rang. Dustin, I'm not interrupting anything, am I? Paul was on the other end of the line. Of course not. Is there a problem, Sir Paul? Dustin asked. Do you remember the Knighthood Society tournament I told you about last time? Tomorrow is the official registration day, Paul went straight to the point. Already? Dustin was surprised. After registration, you need to go through a series of assessments. They will choose the final 5 representatives from the assessment. With your skills, you'll do great for sure. Just be a little serious about it, Paul said, smiling. Where will the assessment be held? Dustin asked. There's a branch of the Martial Arts Alliance in Millsburg. It's held there. I'll arrange for Patrick to assist you. All right, I'll be there on time. After another short exchange, Dustin hung up. They had an agreement. If Dustin won the top spot in the Knighthood Society tournament, he'd get information on Chiuja. Not to mention the generous reward. He had all the herbs required to concoct longevitium ready. All he needed left was the Chiuja. Dustin, where are you going tomorrow? Scarlett asked. Oh. For some reason, I need to join the Knighthood Society tournament. It's organized by the Glenstead and Balerno Martial Arts Alliance, Dustin said. He didn't hide anything. He added, tomorrow is the registration and assessment day. Scarlett's eyes lit up after hearing him. Dustin, can I come with you? Chapter 777. As long as you have time, you can join. Dustin smiled and nodded. That's great. Scarlett's face lit up with joy. Obviously, she wanted to join, not to watch the tournament, but to spend more time with Dustin. She didn't know how much longer she could stay with him. The following day, Dustin met up with Scarlett and the others. Together, they went to the Martial Arts Alliance branch. It was located on the edge of the city. A single large building was its base, boasting modernized facilities. The Martial Arts Alliance had 2 major sources of income. One was charging new students high tuition fees, the other was to put up commissions and take a percentage of the rewards. In this world, wealthy and high-ranking officials frequently needed protection from martial artists. The Alliance became the top place to seek protection. They had a lot of expert fighters available. The rewards were also generous. So, plenty of martial artists were eager to accept the tasks. After completion, the Alliance would take a certain percentage of the rewards. It created a win-win situation for both parties. Previously, when the Harmon family encountered a crisis, even Hector got help from the Alliance. He had recruited a large number of martial artists to be the guards. In fact, many ordinary martial artists relied on commissions to survive. Once they completed a major commission, they could enjoy a carefree life for several years. Naturally, with so many martial artists, the Alliance also had some problems with administrative issues. Dustin and the others finally arrived at the base of the Martial Arts Alliance branch. It took an hour by car. Dustin, you're here. Patrick had been waiting for them. He greeted them with a smile as soon as they got out of the car. Have you had breakfast? He asked. Would you like me to arrange something for you? Thanks, Patrick. We've already eaten, Dustin replied with a smile. All right. Then, let's head in. Patrick gestured with his arm, leading them with ease. They stepped into the open-air martial arts arena. Immediately, a wave of intense heat enveloped them. The arena was packed with people. It created an atmosphere far more vibrant than a bustling marketplace. Dustin, today's registration has 5 assessments. As long as you can pass them all, there shouldn't be any problem, Patrick said. 5 assessments. Which 5? Dustin asked curiously. The first assessment is strength. After that is speed, internal energy, pressure, and lastly, physical combat, Patrick explained. Why make it so complicated? Can't it be done with just 2 rounds of fighting? Georgia asked. There are a lot of martial artists in the alliance. Their strengths are different from each other. The first 4 assessments are basically a screening process to eliminate the weak. It will leave only the strong ones behind. We save more time this way, Patrick explained again. All right. Let's follow the process, then. Where's the first assessment at? Dustin asked. Dustin, this way, please. Patrick nodded and led him to the venue for the first assessment. The first assessment was the strength test. In the middle of the venue was a massive strength tester machine. The machine was made specially by the Alliance. It was constructed entirely of metal. It looked almost like a tank and could take up to 100,000 pounds of force. Based on the standard criteria, hitting over 1,000 pounds of force was barely a pass. Hitting 2,000 pounds was considered good. Going beyond 5,000 pounds was considered exceptionally excellent. Many people were being evaluated. So, Dustin could only patiently join the queue. After a long wait, his turn was finally approaching. However, a group of martial artists dressed in yellow suddenly walked, looking confident. Move. Everyone, get out of my way. The group was extremely arrogant. Their loud shouts filled the air as they shoved their way through the others waiting in line. As they cut the queue and stood at the front, their actions caused a big commotion. Chapter 778. Hey. Where are your manners? How can you all just cut in line like that? A young martial artist who was pushed aside immediately expressed his dissatisfaction. He had waited in line for a long time. Naturally, he was unhappy to be just cut in line like that. Why not? With a cold smirk, a chubby woman slapped the young martial artist. She declared, I can because I'm capable. Her arrogant and overbearing attitude would make anyone furious. You. How dare you slap me? The young martial artist was stunned. Then, his anger flared. You bitch. Take this. He raised a fist, ready to attack. But before he could hit the woman, a muscular man quickly stood in front of her. He blocked his attack. With a loud thud, the forceful punch from the young martial artist landed solidly on the muscular man's chest. The muscular man remained completely unfazed. However, the force of that punch sent the young martial artist stumbling back. His arm hurt from the impact. He felt as if he had punched a piece of dark steel. You dared lay a hand on Gianna with those skills. You're overestimating yourself. The muscular man crossed his arms and smirked. It appeared like he was looking at an ant. I'm going to show you what I'm capable of. The young martial artist gritted his teeth and charged forward once more. He delivered a powerful kick to the muscular man's head. However, the muscular man simply moved his head slightly before straightening it back. The young martial artist stumbled back, almost falling to the ground. His anger turned into fear. He had put all his strength into that kick. Yet he didn't harm that muscular man at all. Instead, he broke his own leg. The muscular man has impressive defensive skills. HMPH. You should have realized the might of my senior, Devon Bradley, by now. You're humiliating yourself by challenging us. The chubby woman, Gianna Richards, lifted her chin arrogantly. You guys are too much. The young martial artist said bitterly. This is ridiculous. Just because you're good doesn't mean you can act entitled. Remember, this is the Alliance, not somewhere for you to act like thugs. That's right. Get out of here, or don't blame us for being rude. The crowd of martial artists raised their voices in protest, their expressions filled with righteous anger. The group had not only cut in line, but they also got violent. Their behavior was just too much. Oh, look. They still dare go against us. Gianna looked around and yelled, "You bunch of losers, do you have any idea who we are? Listen carefully. We are the personal disciples of Noel Yancey, one of the 4 branch masters of Boulder Thorn." What? Mr. Yancey's disciples? Everyone was shocked. Boulder Thorn was one of the top major sects in Belerno. It had 8 guild masters, 4 branch masters, and 1 leader of the branch masters. The leader of the branch masters seldom showed himself in public. So, the 4 branch masters largely governed the affairs of Boulder Thorn. Mr. Yancey was skillful and powerful. He was also a respected elder within the Alliance. His words held absolute authority within this martial arts alliance branch. In fact, just one word from him could get them expelled from the Alliance. They could even end up with a price on their head. Anyone who offended Mr. Yancey would never survive in the martial arts scene in Belerno. So when the furious martial artists found out who Gianna was, they immediately fell silent. They all looked away, not daring to make a sound. Gianna swept a gaze across the crowd. Those who met her eyes quickly averted the gazes and lowered their heads. After all, Boulder Thorn Branch Master's personal disciples were not ordinary martial artists. They shouldn't be messed with. Is Boulder Thorn that great? You think you can break the rules and attack people just because you're from Boulder Thorn? The young martial artist didn't back down. Chapter 779. Ha! Guess you won't cry till you see death in the eyes. Gianna glared at the young martial artist. She said haughtily, "Devon, since this guy won't respect us, let's teach him a lesson." All right. With a smirk, Devon stepped forward. He lifted the young martial artist off the ground and above his head. "Let me go." The young martial artist struggled wildly, but it was in vain. Compared to the muscular Devon, he seemed like a weak chick. He was absolutely powerless. Don't want to give in? Well, I'll make sure you will with my fists. Devon held the young martial artist tightly with both hands. He spun him around a few times before moving to slam him down forcefully. If the young martial artist was lucky, he would only sustain serious injuries the moment he hit the ground. He's done for. Many in the crowd looked on sympathetically. Just as the young martial artist was about to meet his end, a hand appeared and caught him gently. It skillfully neutralized the force of the impact. It was none other than Dustin. Huh. The crowd was stunned. They couldn't believe someone had the guts to step in and save the young martial artist. "You brat. You've got some nerve to step into my business." Devon's gaze was hostile. "Clearly, you're the ones at fault. Yet, you dare hurt others here. Are all of you from Boulder Thorn that overbearing and arrogant?" Dustin said calmly. "Who do you think you are to criticize us?" Gianna shouted, glaring at Dustin. "I stepped in because I just can't stand it. In fact, I've always disliked you people from Boulder Thorn." Dustin was blunt. "You brat. Do you know what you just said?" Devon cracked his knuckles. He spoke with a threatening tone. "I said, I despise you idiots from Boulder Thorn. How dare you? The audacity. Devon, teach this arrogant brat a hard lesson." The group of formidable fighters from Boulder Thorn was in an uproar. No one had ever publicly humiliated them like that. Damn. Who is this guy? How does he have the guts to challenge Boulder Thorn like that? I'm not sure where this brat came from, but it looks like he's in trouble. Dustin's words created chaos among the crowd. You bastard. You have a death wish. Devon couldn't take it anymore. He threw a fast punch straight at Dustin's face. Before Dustin could react, Scarlett suddenly grabbed Devon's wrist and threw him forward. Devon's large figure was thrown into the air. Then, it crashed heavily onto the ground. An explosion could be heard as the ground shook from the impact. Devon's figure had left an indent on the ground, shocking everyone. However, the situation was far from over. While Devon was still disoriented, Scarlett drew her 3-foot viridescent blade and aimed for his throat. Her eyes were merciless like the devil. It was absolutely terrifying. To her, anyone who dared to hurt Logan must die. Chapter 780. Ah! Devon screamed in despair, seeing the sword coming at him. He never could have expected the charming woman to act so ruthlessly out of nowhere. It was evident she held absolutely no regard for Boulderthorn. Stop. No. The unexpected turn of events shocked the Boulderthorn disciples. However, it was too late for them to stop her. Don't kill him, kid, Dustin said just in time. There was a sharp whistle as Scarlett's blade stopped mere inches from Devon's throat. A thin line of blood formed as it grazed his skin. Had Dustin spoken out a second later, Devon would have been lying in a pool of his own blood. Devon gulped. His face turned pale. Cold sweat trickled down his forehead. The terror in his eyes never went away. He had very nearly met his end. Just where did this crazy bitch with such hatred come from? They weren't even enemies. It was scary. Do that again, and I will send you to hell, Scarlett said icily. Devon shivered involuntarily. A wave of unease washed over him. He had no doubt that Scarlett genuinely intended to kill him just now. How dare you ambush Devon? You've got the nerves. The Boulderthorn disciples recovered from their shock, then, they began to make noise. They believed that Scarlett would never have defeated Devon if it hadn't been an ambush. Desmond, Thomas, Dominic, don't waste your breath on them. Catch them all as a warning to the rest. Gianna yelled. The 4 major branches of Boulderthorn were named after the 4 symbols. Noel led the branch known as Steeljaw's Fellowship. Today, most of Steeljaw's Fellowship's disciples were present. That was why Gianna was so arrogant. Get them. Following Desmond's order, the disciples closed in on Dustin and Scarlett. Hold it right there. Just then, Patrick stepped forward. He declared loudly, I'm Patrick Hill of the Hill family. These are our esteemed guests. Don't you dare act recklessly. As he spoke, he revealed an emblem signifying his identity. The Hill family. Upon hearing him, the Steeljaw's Fellowship disciples frowned. They scrutinized the emblem. They made sure it was authentic before softening their stance. As one of the tremendous 3, the Hill family held great influence and power. Boulderthorn could never make enemies of them. It was mostly due to their respect and even fear of Paul. Paul was a former leader of Belerno martial arts. He was also a formidable martial arts grandmaster. His status was comparable to the leader of the Boulderthorn branch masters. Even the present leader of Belerno martial arts was his student. These were more than enough to show his influence within the martial world. HMPH, we'll let you go this time on behalf of Sir Paul. But you won't be so lucky next time. Desmond sneered. You guys got lucky. Gianna seethed. Although upset, she couldn't make a scene with the Hill family backing them. Dustin, just focus on the main task. Don't bother with them, Patrick advised in a lowered tone. They came here to be assessed. Things would get complicated if a deadly incident involving Noel's disciples were to occur. Even if Dustin remained unharmed, he would be disqualified from the tournament. I understand. Dustin nodded. Then, he looked at Scarlett. Kid, put your sword away. We can't kill anyone here. All right. Scarlett nodded obediently. Her cold and aggressive demeanor disappeared completely. Her attitude toward Dustin and the rest was really different. All right, let's not waste time. Get ready for the strength test. Seeing that the fight was over, the staff from the Martial Arts Alliance began giving instructions. The rules are simple. No one is allowed to use internal energy. Only physical strength is allowed. Hitting 1,000 pounds is considered a pass. 2,000 pounds and above is considered good. 5,000 pounds and above is considered excellent. Those who hit 10,000 pounds and above can advance immediately.